So good morning, everybody. So now we are going to have the second session. So last session we covered some topics under data analytics, Industry 4.0, broadly the data sphere, right? Data science sphere, AI sphere. So do you have any question or should you have any questions? You are welcome to post it to ask directly. I'm here to answer, right? So the topic today, what we are going to cover today, is the first chapter. Uh, so it is about management of technology. So this is a somewhat new subject for most of the people in Sri Lanka, but this is not that new to world. This particular area emerged in somewhere around 1980s, 85, 84, right? People like Peter Drucker and other advocates, right? Industry experts, um, they started talking about managing the technology effectively, right? So that's how um, this area came as a sub discipline under management as well as technology. So that's why we call this is management of technology. Shortened form is MOT, right? So under this type of topics that we cover under MOT. So first thing we will try to understand what is the technology, why we have to manage technology, what do you mean by a technology strategy, and there are other topics like technology transfer, how we acquire technology, different technology acquisition methods, then even though we don't cover in your chapter the things like intellectual property, innovation management. So all these generally come under the area of management of technology, right? But in your BL8 Digital Business Strategy textbook, we have touched some important areas only, right? But the domain is large. There are so much knowledge components under this subject components, which if you are interested, there are reference given. You can refer at the reference for additional knowledge, right? So with that, I will start the session. If you have any question, if you think that anything that unclear, or if you need further clarifications, please don't hesitate to type whatever your question in the chat box, and I will frequently check the chat box. So I'm happy to answer, right? Okay, so the first thing that we need to know, what is technology, what it means technology, right? So there are different definitions. You don't have to by heart or remember the definitions, but you need to know, you need to have an idea about what you mean by technology, right? So there are different quotes, quotations. I mean, what some experts have express about the meaning of the technology. So the first one from Nawaz Sharif, there is a question. Uh, I think it's being recorded, not by me. I think from Chartered Institute side, this is being recorded. Am I correct? Augusta, are you recording this? Yeah, I don't have the permission to record. Can I ask from Chartered Institute side, is this being, is it, I think this is being recorded.
Yes, sir, we will record this.
Yes, so it is being recorded, right? Thank you for the question. Different people have expressed, I mean, different experts, or we call advocates, in the area of technology management, or even any other disciplines, right? They have given some definitions. But none of the definitions that we take as the definition, right? So there can be many definitions. So, according to Nawaz Sharif, a technology, it is a game for the rich, a dream for the poor, and a key for the wise. Right? So, this is how he sees the technology. What is a technology? But different, Ramanathan 1994, who is in Australia, Sydney. So, he has given a different definition. Technology as a transformer, technology as a transformer, technology as a tool, technology as a knowledge, technology as embodiment form. So what he says is, now when moment someone says technology, we think technology is hardware or software. No, not that is not the case. Technology is not only hardware, not only the software, it has its human component as well, right? So the last four items, bullet points, explain that. Because technology can include technoware, that is technology, the hardware part, then the human part, we call humanware, then the organizational part, orgaware, then the information part, infoware, right? So the technology manifestation has four elements, and it can have even more elements. So the term technology is not restricted to um, um, the hardware or software component. So it has a broader meaning. It should include human aspect, right, as well as organizational aspect, cultural aspect, and information aspects, right? So it's a broader term, right? But now, moment we hear the term technology, we think it's gadgets. No, it's not gadgets only. It's beyond gadgets, right? So this is what you need to know. Technology is not only about gadgets, but it has a broader concept, right? Then we come to this classification of technology. So this classification is based on how the technology is going to impact the competitiveness of a firm, right? So when we talk about technology, is used by uh, firms, nations, right? So people, so different levels it is being used, right? Now, for example, companies, they use technology, or country-wise, right? So the classification of technologies based on competitive impact means how different types of the different types of technologies is going to impact a company or a nation in terms of its competitiveness in the marketplace, right? For simplicity, we will think of a firm or company, right? How a company is going to impacted based on the technology that it has, right? So there are three types of technologies. One is base technologies. Base technologies, the basic of basic technology that a company should have to survive in the market, right? For example, now the example that I have given is electronic ignition technology. Right now, these days, if you take any car, any motorbike, any three-wheeler, or any type of vehicle, the switching on, we call ignition, is based on electronic ignition, right? So sometime back, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we had mechanical type of ignitions, but now we have electronic, and even further improved one, where you have keyless, you have touch, right? But the basic of basic these days is electronic ignition, right? So without that, you can't survive. So when we call base technologies, that is the basic the technology that the company or the firm should have to survive, right? So it is not sufficient but widely available. Okay, so if you have at least base technology, then you will be able to uh, have some kind of competitive advantage. Then key technologies, right? Key technologies are the technologies that can provide competitive advantage over the others. For example, now let's say food packing industry, right? Food packing industry, um, most of the companies try to acquire the technologies like where your food packing is compatible for microwave cooking, right? So which means now we get, let's say, we get a packet of milk, we should be able to just put it inside the oven, microwave oven and heat it, right? So in order to do that, you have to have the particular packing material that is conducive for that particular purpose, right? So it's a kind of key technologies that the company should have. So it provides competitive advantage and it permits the producer to embed different features or functions in product to attain great efficiency. So when you have key technology, it gives this competitive advantage over the others because you can have different features, right, add to your product, right? So it's a way of differentiating, right? So for example, if it is milk, liquid milk, so one can have a Tetra Pak, right? Where you can't put it inside the microwave oven. The another company, they have same similar Tetra Pak, but that Tetra Pak is compatible, right? Whatever the material can be used for microwave cooking, right? So this is a key. This type of technologies are known as key technologies. Then the third one is pacing technologies. So which is the future, right? Future technologies. Now, not all the companies have these future technologies, right? Because you can't afford to have future technologies for most of the companies. For example, now these days, the hype is about quantum computing or hydrogen fuel cell, right? So if it is automobile, it's hydrogen fuel cell. But not all the companies, not all the automobile manufacturers can afford to have this hydrogen fuel technologies, right? And then for the even the computer manufacturers, not all the companies can afford to have processors uh, or the chips, right? Coming under quantum computing, right? So these are future technologies, right? So become tomorrow's key technology, right? So what happens is now there will be a pacing technology. Eventually, after some years, number of years, it will become a key technology. Then after some number of years, it will become the base technology, right? So which is common, right, with the time. For example, if you take one example, LED TVs, right? LED TVs, or even the screens, right? 10 years ago, it was a pacing technology. Not many manufacturers had that technology, but then it became a key technology where several players developed their own LED technologies. Now it's a basic, right? Now it's a base, right? Without LED, now you can't find the TV with very old CRT type TVs, right? So LED has become a generic, right? So this is how we normally classify technologies based on the competitive advantage that it can have on a firm, right? Competitive advantage that it can have on a firm. Okay, so for you to have if you want to survive, right? If you have to compete at basic level in the market, you need to have base technologies. Without that, no chance, right? So if you have key technologies, that you will have greater advantage when it comes to competition, right? Pacing technology is the future technology. How well you can your R&D, research and development, can come up with pacing technologies. How well you can spend on these R&D activities, right? Not all the companies can do this, right? It is a futuristic technologies. So with that, now we are going to define what is management of technology, because we had talked about the technology, what is a technology, and how we classify the technology based on competitive impact, right? So then we ask the question, why, what is management of technology, right? So some kind of working definition is given. Technology management or management of technology or technology management is concerned with the decision problems at all levels of business. Typically, when we say levels of business, do you know what are the levels of business? Do you know what are the levels of business? So normally we have, if it is levels, operation, operation level, then tactical, then strategy, right? So these are the levels, right? So we have operation level. Now, in any firm, we can have different levels, right? Operation level, tactical level, and strategic level. Right? So technology management is concerned with decision problem at all levels. When we say all levels, these are the levels, right? That is operational related decision making, tactical level decision making, strategic level decision making. Then related to creation of utilization technological assets, right? So when we say technological assets, it is not only the hardware and software as we discuss. It is again the human component of the technology. Capabilities and their impact on organization and nations, right? So not only organization, this applies to nations as well to provide competitive edge. Okay. So the whole thing is why we have to manage the technology, because to have sustainable competitive advantage or competitive edge, right? The whole thing why we have to develop technologies, why we have to manage the technologies. It is basically one thing. It decreases to competitive advantage over the others, right? It can be at firm level, it can be at nation level. So whoever who enjoys the technology will have competitive edge. You can take any example. If you take country like Japan, right? With their technologies, the technology that they have developed in the area of automobiles. So they have they enjoy competitive edge over the others, right? Country like Germany, right? And then emerging countries like Korea, South Korea, and even Vietnam, right? So the kind of technologies have given, the kind of technologies that they have acquired and they have developed have given competitive advantage in the global marketplace for those countries. Okay, so this is what we talk about. Let me just I will erase this. So then the question is, why technology management? Why we need to have technology? So we are going to ask this question: what, why, how, where, right? So we are going to ask these questions on technology management. Why technology management? Why firms or why nations, why countries need this technology management? Right. The reason is companies as well as nations, they face these days turbulent, hostile market environments, right? So the international markets or even local markets, they are turbulent, they are hostile, they are competitive, right? So then the organizations uh, should find a strategy, right, to find new and more secure routes of competitive success. How to sustain, how to survive, right? So that's why companies have gone for this idea of management of technology, right? So because the changing global business climate, okay, changing global business climate. So last 10 years or 15 years, we have been facing competition not only by local firms. If you take any company let's say in Sri Lanka, right? We'll take a company like Singer, right? Company like Singer. So they are into electronics, we call household electronics. So uh, apparently their competition is from similar players like Softlogic, right? Then we have Dinapala. Then who's doing Samsung, I can't remember the name. So there are some companies where you have they face competition from, right? For appliances, electronic appliances like refrigerators and whatever, TVs, various other stuff, right? Home appliances. But now, if you check the competition, it is not only from local companies, but through these web portals like Daraz, AliExpress. I can buy I can buy these home appliances not only from Singer, but even I can bring it from China or even India, right? So which means a company in Sri Lanka like Singer, it faces competition locally as well as globally. So this is why we say the changing global business climate, right? Any local company, right? I can say most of the local companies not only facing the competition from local industries or local competitor firms, but from outside as well. Then the second reason why we have to manage technology, because to do this wealth creation, right? So wealth creation, you can't do this wealth creation without technology. Then the other thing is increasing competition among firms, which I have covered. Right? So competition among firms, it can come from locally as well as globally. To retain global competitive advantage or to have sustainable competitive advantage, we call sustainable competitive advantage, where we want to have we want to be competitive not for today, not for tomorrow, but foreseeable future, right? So to do that, we need to invest on technology and manage technology. And finally, technology management leads to sustainable development, right? So, what do you mean by technology? So it is in between business and science and engineering, right? So technology management is no more engineering, no more science, and it is no more business. So it's combination of both, right? So you can't manage technology without having some knowledge, some domain knowledge from business, as well as the domain knowledge from science and engineering. So that's why we categorize MOT between those two, right? So it's a kind of intersection, right? Okay. Then where we manage this technology, right? So as I said, we manage technology at firm level, industry level, and national level. Firm level, it's obvious, right? So just the effect of technology change overall business strategy to improve competitiveness and effectiveness of the business, right? So if it is a company, why a company should have better technology? For various things, right? One is to improve its effectiveness and efficiency, right? When you have technology, you can improve the efficiency of the business, effectiveness of the business, and by doing that, you can improve the competitiveness of the company, right? Because with less resources, you will be able to produce more if you have technology. Let's say, for example, these days, last time we discussed robotics, right? For manufacturing industry, if we have robotic arm, okay, or robotic based manufacturing, then what will happen? There will be less errors, right? Accuracy will be more, rejection will be less, the quality failures will be less, right? So which means with that type of technology, the overall performance, company performance can improve. That is, effectiveness and efficiency will be improved, and that will help the competitiveness of the firm. Then the other thing is industry level, right? So how we manage this, not only at the firm level but industry level. Industries, we have more than one companies. For example, if you take Sri Lanka, apparel sector, right? So we have um, several big uh, holding type of company, big companies in the apparel sector, and they are using high end technologies. For example, MAS Holding, then we have Hydra Money, then we have yeah, the companies. Brandix, right? So they are big companies. So when they started using technology, high-end technologies for their manufacturing, then the industry um, became competitive in the global context, right? So now Sri Lanka apparel industry is competitive and they can compete in global platform, global stage. That was because they acquire more and more technology for their processes, manufacturing, mainly manufacturing processes and production processes. So that was at industry level. Then national level. So national level, how we manage the technology, it's about your innovation or invention policies, your technology policies as a country, infrastructure development. So that's the national level, how we tackle this management of technology. For example, if you have a good road network, right? So then that will help. If you can do this transportation effectively, efficiently, right, at lower cost, right? And let's say internet coverage or electricity coverage, right? Urban water supplies. So these are the things that we talk under this infrastructure development. Then the companies will be able to um, invest in, or we call foreign direct invest in Sri Lanka, and then they can do various types of productions. So management of technology is important at national levels as well. And the technology policy, what type of technology policies you have, right? So for example, yesterday, there was this green light was given to uh, Starlink, that is satellite-based internet services, right? So that's again part of technology policy, right? How as a nation, how fast we can embrace the kind of technology, right? Up and coming new technologies, right? So this is what we mean by where we manage the technology: firm level, industry level, and national level. Okay. So we have asked what question, why, where, and how we can manage how a firm can manage a technology, management of technology, how we do it, right? So there are basically four, and it can be many ways, right? So I have listed four. One is research and development management, then innovation management. So what is the innovation policy of country or a firm, right? What is the intellectual property law? What type of protection that we give for the inventors, right? Or even intellectual properties like it can be creative work and any other thing, right? Various industrial design. How we can, how as a country, how we protect those intellectual property, right? So this is how these things come under innovation management. Then technology planning, how we plan the technology acquisition policy, technology transfer policies, how we get rid of certain technologies, right? So this is about technology planning, and how what type of budgetary allocations we do for this technology acquisition and development. Then strategic management of technology, how we manage technology as a strategy, right? So if it is a company, what is the technology strategy of a company, right? So this comes under strategic management of technology, which we will further explore, right? So the last topic we are going to further explore. Okay. So up to this point, I have explained what is technology, um, the levels of technology, and what is management technology, why we have to manage technology, uh, at what level, so where we manage technology, and how do we manage technology, right? So these are the areas that I have covered so far. Do you have any questions, unclear areas under this? So whatever the things that I have covered. So if you have any question, I can answer. Okay, right. So the next important thing, technology life cycle. We call technology S-curve, right? So this is very important. Now, whatever technology, so this performance is technology performance, y-axis, then x-axis is time. With the time, what is going to happen to a technology, right? So I will give one example, more than one example, right? Let's say initially the performance is low. We call emerging period. Then there is a growth period, then we have maturity and decline. For any technology, it is like that, right? So if you take one example, let's take shipping industry, right? So we'll take shipping industry. Um, if you take no, we'll take different industry. Um, we'll take automobile, right? Automobile. So automobile engines, right? Initially, if you take something like internal combustion engine, that is petrol engine, right? So in 1920s, right? So we saw the emerging, right? Most of these companies like Benz and Daimler, those companies, they have come up with internal combustion engine, right? That is petrol engine, and that was the time it was emerging. And then we see a growth, right, with different types of technologies like VVT, different types, intelligent valve timing, right, and even automatic transmission. So the growth was seen, and then there was this maturity, right? So after some time, in 1990s, when it comes to 2000, those engines almost matured, and now they are in declining stage, right? So then we see a hybrid engine, right, came up, petrol and battery EV, right? So likewise, these technologies, there is this any technology faces this life cycle, right? So life cycle is it starts with less performance, and then it grow and matures and decline, right? So in terms of if you want to map some kind of um, investment, right? The finances on this, right? So the fine, let me draw this here. The company spending, right? So it will look like this. So initially you have to spend for R&D, and then you will see a growth like this, right? So it's like this. So this is let's say revenue or investment or whatever, right? Investment. Then we have time, right? So initially the companies, they have to invest, right? So that will be a cost, right? It will be a cost. That is emerging period. It will be a cost, and then your technology is going to earn money, right? So in this period, you are the only player in that type of technology. But with the time, when you are at the maturity level, right, this level, more and more players will come to the market, and your profits will decline. So this is how it happens, right? Now, initially you will have now in the growth stage, you will enjoy greater profits, greater revenue, because the number of players in the market with that technology is not that great, right? Maybe one or two players, or even sometimes it can be only one player, only you. So then you enjoy higher profit. But with the time, others also will follow you, and then your profits will come down, right? So when that happens, we call it's mature and decline, right? So this is how normally this technology um, life cycle happens. And if we want to map it with the costs or the revenues, right? So let me show you another example. Let's say I'm going to show you this cassette industry, the music industry. Now 1970s, if you have seen, now before that we had records. I have taken out the records, right? 1970s, the cassette, we call audio cassette, it came. And then players like Sony, they were the front runners. KDK, Sony, those are the companies that had these cassettes, right? Then with the time, that technology matured and then declined, right? Then companies started the other S curve. So you jump from one S curve to the other. Let me show this, right? You jump from, so you have cassette technology, then you jump to another technology, right? CDs, right? CDs. Now cassettes, 1970s you start, then maybe companies like Sony, KDK, they enjoy greater profits, and some companies in Germany as well. And then many players came into the market. Now after that, the technology obsolete. Before this, you had this record technology, right? So I have omitted the records. Then people develop new technology, that is CDs, right? So now CDs came, and now we don't have CDs, right? So now we have iPods, right? That type of devices. So after that, so we see up to 2005, we see the developments of iPods and similar type of devices. Now it's smartphones, different technologies. So the smartphones are here now, right? So this is what we call by technology life cycle, and how the companies switch from one technology to other, right? So when you are here, then you know that there is no growth for you, right? Then you have to jump to some other technology. Then only you can, first you have to invest, and then you get whatever the yield, right? So after some time you jump to some other technology, then again other technology. So this is what we mean by technology S-curve, right? So you can plug this for music, you can have motor vehicle engine, transmission systems, mobile phones, right? So if I draw the mobile phone, initially you had analog phones, right? Uh, yeah, initially you had analog phones, then digital phones, right? So likewise, okay. So this is what we call um, technology S curve. So this looks like S. That's why this curve is this curve looks like S. That's why this S letter comes, right? Because the curve looks like S. So the most important takeaway from this example, you have to identify the stages: emerging, growth, maturity, and decline, and how, when a technology obsoletes, or when it comes to the decline stage, how companies change or jump to some other type of technology, right? So this is the most important learning from this example. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. Right. So then we come to the another important topic, that is, which I have mentioned 2 slides ago: strategic management of technology. Before talking about strategic management of technology, we will see what you mean by a strategy. Again, there are different definitions, but I'm going to use Michael E. Porter's 1980 definition on strategy. Right. So this Michael E. Porter is a very famous um, um, expert, advocate on this strategy, strategy development, various other topics. Right. He's very well renowned person. We will see some other models that he has developed in next few slides as well. So according to him, strategy is a broad-based formula for how business is going to compete, with its goals should be, and what policies will be needed to carry out these goals. The essence of formulating competitive strategies relating to company to its environment. So main thing, two things that we have to take from this particular um, definition. One is your strategy formulation, right? Now, as a company, if you want to develop your own strategy, so it will be mainly based on your environment. We call task environment, right? I think you have heard about PESTEL, political, economical, social, technology, environment, right? So that is your task environment, right? Then the other one is strategy gives a direction where the business should go, right? Where we want to drive the business. Okay, so this is what we have to understand from this definition. So what do you mean by strategic decision? Strategic decisions are concerned with scope of an organizational activities. What type of activities this particular firm is going to be engaged. Whether it's a trading company, whether it's a manufacturing company, whether it's a research and development company. Um, so that is what we mean by scope. Matching of an organization activities to its environment, how we as a company, how we match with maybe with let's say the industry that you are in. If it is cement, so who are the other players, what type of environment that you face. Matching of an organization activities to its resource capability, right? So what type of resources that you have, are you going to import all your resources? What is the most important resource that you have as a company? Allocation and reallocation of more major resources, value, expectations, goals of influencing strategy, direction in which the organization will move in long term. Right. So mainly the strategy, very simple term, it's a route or the path that the company is chosen to go along. Then strategic management involves developing organizational goals, determining the organization where the organization wants to go, formulation of organizational strategy, how you implement the organization strategy. This is what we mean by strategic management, right? So I'm not going to get into the details of strategic management, but this is some important things that you should know what it means by strategic management, what it does to a company, right? So there are three levels of strategy. If you take a company, one is corporate strategy, then you have business strategy, then you have technology strategy. There can be other strategies as well, but we focus only on three strategies, and out of that, we are mostly focused on technology strategy and business strategy, right? So corporate strategy is not really under the scope of this particular textbook. Of course, it will be covered by your other subjects, right? So our focus mainly is technology strategy and business strategy. Okay, so what do you mean by a business strategy? So business strategy, it develops uh, what mainly develops the vision, mission, and shared values of an organization. What do you mean by a vision? So the company vision, now if you take any um, annual report, right? So you can download most of these annual reports of the companies like Haley's, John Keys, right? Eight Constraints. You can go to their website and you can download their annual reports, and you can, in that you can see the business strategy, right? So the vision where this particular company wants to be in 5 years, 10 years, right? Maybe where it wants to be, um, where it pitches, right? So the mission defines the type of business a company is in, what type of business that they are in, and how they engage with their stakeholders. When we say stakeholders, it can be your customers, general public, employees, right? So all are stakeholders. Okay. So mission defines type of business that you are in. Are you in the trading business? Are you in the shipping business? Or are you in the ICT type of business? Right? So what type of business and how you engage with different stakeholders. Then shared values or values reflects the firm's beliefs in its commitment and ethics towards the stakeholders. How we treat people, right? So this is what we roughly, um, briefly mean by business strategy. Or when you leave a business strategy, normally we focus to all these things. So these are some additional things that I wanted to stress, because our focus is more on to technology and management of strategy, right? So then the next topic under this is competitive advantage, right? So what? So we use this word competitive advantage, um, a sustainable competitive advantage, right? So often we use this word in this particular session, right? So if you check the slides or even the textbook, this competitive advantage word appears various places and more frequently. So what do you mean by competitive advantage, and how you assess this competitive advantage, right? So there are various models that you do assess this competitive advantage, but we will select one type of approach, that is industrial organization, right? So what it says in the first bullet point, competitive advantage can be assessed using both external and internal factors of the firm, right? So when the company faces competitive, so when the company wants to create a competitive advantage, right? So you have to think, you have to evaluate both external and internal factors of the organization. It is not only for the organization. Let's say if you um, as a person want to be competitive, right? So if you want to have your own competitive advantage, then you have to look both external and internal factors, right? It same applies for the firm. So industrial organization IO model, right? So industrial organization model, again developed by Michael Lee Porter, right? So that is one type of industrial organization model, explains the competitive advantage by determining the factors outside the firm, right? So if you want to assess the competitive advantage looking at external factors, so the one model that you can use is Porter's five forces. So it looks about industry structure and its attractiveness, right? So we'll see what is the model. uh, it talks about five things, starting from the top, threats from new entrants, then bargaining power of buyers, threats from substitute products, bargaining power of suppliers, and middle you have rivalry among competing firms in the industry. So what it says is the competitiveness or the rivalry in the industry is based on, or it depends on these four factors. So what do you mean by bargaining power of suppliers? How well as a firm, how well you can bargain with your suppliers. So what is the power that suppliers have over you, right? So this is what we mean by bargaining power of suppliers. Now, for example, if you are a very big firm, right? So you will have better bargaining power. Or the other way around, if you are a very small firm and you are buying from very big firms, right? Again, your bargaining power will be less, right? Or even the other, so we can think of a different way. Now, if you are a big firm and you are buying from a tiny group of or tiny set of companies, again, you will have very good bargaining power over the supplies. One example is Cargill's versus the local farmers, right? Now, Cargill is a big company, and we have small farmers, right? Farmers may be individuals or even farm organizations. So the company like Cargill, they have greater bargaining power over the farmers here, right? So that's one way of looking at this bargaining power of suppliers. Then we have bargaining power of buyers, right? So if you take the Cargill again, now buyers are general public consumers, right? So again, they are individual. So the bargaining power may be not that great, right? When it comes to setting the prices, hardly any say from the consumers, right? So because the individuals are dealing with the big company, right? Now, if it is a big company who is buying, they will have greater bargaining power. Then threats of new entrants. How easy for a new entrant to come into the market? Is it easy or difficult? Right? Now, I will give one example. Let's say if it is if I want to register a pharmaceutical import company. Now, I want to import pharmaceutical drugs to Sri Lanka, right? Whether it's easy or difficult. In Sri Lanka, it's very difficult, right? There are so many barriers. So new entrance is not easy, right? New entries is not easy. So threat is not that great in the pharmaceutical industry, right? But let's say you take mobile phone market, right? Anyone can bring mobile phones from any other country like China or Hong Kong or whatever, or Singapore, Thailand, whatever, or Dubai, and you can start a small firm, right? So if you take mobile phone market, threats of new entrants is very high. Okay, so it depends on the market and type of good. All right. Then threat of substitute, right? Now, how well your product can be substitute, right? So do you have any threats of substitute like tea versus coffee, right? Can we switch between product, right? Is your company is vulnerable for this product switching? Can consumers easily switch the product and forget about your product, right? So this is what we call threats of substitute product. So these will generate the rivalry, right? What kind of rivalry competitiveness that is there in the market, right? So I don't know whether you have done for economics. Now you have different types of markets. Some are monopoly type of market, some are oligopoly type of market, some are perfect competitive type of markets, right? So now if you take the Sri Lanka electricity sector, it's highly monopolized and highly regulated, right? So it's a monopoly type of market. If you take cement industry in Sri Lanka, it's somewhat oligopolistic market because we have several players. Like we have INSEE, we have Larsen and Turbo, right? So there are several players and Tokyo Cement. So it's almost like oligopolistic market, right? So then the competition is so if it is monopoly, then mostly the consumers are price takers, right? The companies can make prices. Okay. When if it is oligopolistic market, there is some level of competition, but not that great. The other one is perfectly competitive market. So if you take mobile phone type of industry, right? So it's very competitive. You can there are it's like a commodity, right? So you can go to any place and buy a kind of mobile phone that you want, right? So this is what we mean by rivalry or competitiveness among the players, right? So there are measures you can measure, right? You can measure the competitiveness. There are quantitative measures you can do. Okay, so this is what Porter has discussed under this five force model of competition. Okay, right. So I hope you're okay with that. Then from business strategy to technology strategy, right? So we have been talking about business strategy. Okay. Business strategy, organization vision, mission, values, right? So how you assess the organization, external assessment, how we assess the competitive advantage of a firm, right? Using FIFO's model, right? So then we arrive at technology strategy. So technology strategy focuses on the following: the type of distinctive technological capabilities that can be sourced from a firm's competitive uh, advantage, level at which a firm should invest in technology development, timing of introducing new technologies, right? So technology strategy of a firm is mainly three parts, not three parts. It can be defined under these three bullet points, right? So mainly the first one is the type of technology that this particular company has, which gives competitive advantage, right? Um, Say for example, Samsung kind of company, Samsung or even Apple, right? So the technology that they have has that they have able to give competitive advantage over the other players, right? Kind of technology, distinctive technological capabilities that they have, or even a company like Tesla cars, right? Kind of technology. Okay. Um, and the other one is uh, how to what level a company should invest on the technology development, right? Now, if you take certain companies, their research and development budget is very high, right? So, for example, some pharmaceutical companies, right? Now, if you take some time back during COVID, right? So, like company like Pfizer, right? Because of their investment on technology, developing new technologies or new whatever these medicines, right? So that has created a competitive advantage for them in that situation, right? And then the technology timing strategies, right? When to release whatever the technology, right? Technology timing. Okay. So this you can see maybe if you check company like Apple, right? When they release certain technologies, right? Annually or every 2 years or whatever, depending on the market condition, the competitiveness, what other players does, right? Other players, what other player, mainly Samsung, right? And maybe other few other players, what they do based on that, how what type of technology, the new technologies that they release to the marketplace, right? So this is the main the crux of technology strategy um, that companies adopt, right? So we have different frameworks to identify this, or we call study this. So I'm following BMW framework, right? It identifies four major elements of technology strategy. So one is competitive strategy stance. So in the perspective of competitive strategy, you can assess technology strategy, and then value chain, right? Looking at the value chain and resource commitment, right? Resource commitment is what is the amount of money or any other resource that company commits on this technology, and the management, that mainly commitment, right? Mission, vision, right? So management commitment. So this is the other thing, right? So under BMW framework, um, uh, if you want to identify technology strategy of a firm, there are four elements. Out of these four, we are mainly keen on learning this value chain stance, right? So how do we assess technology or identify technology strategy via value chain? Okay, so technology strategy via value chain stance, right? Looking at the value chain. So what do you mean by a value chain? Okay, so value chain stance refers to the use of technology across various activities and functional entities of a firm. So if you take a company, now next slide I will show you, we can identify different activities and functional units of a firm, right? So value chain stance refers to the use of technology across these activities, right, and functional entities. Again, we focus the Porter's second model, right? Porter's value chain model to segregate, or we call decompose, or to unbundle the activities of the firm, right? So what Porter has done, he has unbundled, or he has decomposed the firm two types, right? Two categories. One is activities that directly add values for the firm. Second one is support services. So you can see from this diagram, right? So whatever the things that he has shown here, this part, right? We call primary value activity. So these will create value, right? Directly. See, activities that directly add value firms customers, right? Because they involve these activities or these functions, they involve um, whatever the engagement the company is going to have directly with the customer. So inbound logistics is how a company bring whatever the material and other stuff to your warehouse and or even inventory or stock or whatever. Operation is if you are doing some kind of operation, it can be manufacturing or whatever, right? Outbound logistics is how you take out finished goods to your customer, right? Then you have marketing and sales, how you promote, how you take your product to the customer, and whatever the other services, right? So these are the primary activities where these activities will create value directly. So that's why these are called primary value activities. Then you have secondary value activities. Infrastructure of the firm, whether you have ACs, whether you have good building, those things. Human resource, technology, then the procurement process, right? So all these things will create a margin, right? Whatever the margin for this particular firm, right? This is for the margin. Okay. So what Porter has done, see, what Porter has done is he has decoupled, right? Decomposed the company, any firm into two, right? Depending on these primary activities and secondary activities, right? Primary activities uh, are you have to identify the activities that are going to directly create value to your customer. Then secondary activities, they are not directly involved with adding value to the customer, right? Let's say if you take a company like, again, we'll take Cargill's, right? So since we have taken the example Cargill's, now uh, something like let me check. Let me say they are how they are hire and fire policy, right? Cargill's hire and fire policy, right? How they recruit people, how they fire people, their remuneration, that might not directly add value to the customer, right? It is important, but as a customer, consumer, that will not really, so it is indirect, right? But if you take how fast you can bring, let's say, vegetables to your warehouse and how fast you can distribute it to the consumer or to the supermarket, right? So the efficiency of your supply chain, right? If you can collect whatever vegetables and send it to the supermarket within, let's say, 4 5 hours, so which preserve the freshness of the good. So that is important because that creates value directly to the customer, because customer or the consumer takes a decision buy or not to buy based on the freshness of the vegetable, right? If your inbound logistics and other operation outbound logistics, the efficiency of that will directly create value to the customer. But the hire and fire policy of your employees will not directly add any value to your customers. We don't know about that, right? We don't know about it, right? So let's say Cargill's procurement policy, right? What type of negotiations they do with their farmers. We are not bothered, right? As a consumer, I don't know. I don't see it, right? Okay. So based on that, for any company, you can have um, secondary activities, support activities, or primary activities, right? So this is what Porter has said, right? Under technology strategy, this technology strategy can be assessed, right? It's value chain is one part of this technology strategy, right? One part of technology strategy, and under that, under value chain, broadly you can divide a company into two parts, right? So this is another example of the value chain, right? Now let's say this blue is again firm, so the same diagram, right? So same this diagram, smaller version. I have not done any internal arrangements, right? So this is a firm, right? Then this firm receives goods from supplier firms, right? So these are again firms. So for this, for example, this firm also we can have this diagram, right? Primary activities. This also we can have the same diagram. This is the firm that we focus on. It can also have this diagram, right? Primary, secondary activities. Then we have distributor. Distributor again, it's a firm, right? And we have a buyer, right? Each firm, even though they are linked, right? They are linked. Each firm will have their own internal activity, secondary and primary, right? So this is how we develop a value chain, right? For particular sector, right? For particular sector, we can have a value chain. Okay. So each firm you can look at under this one. Each firm you can look at under this one. So if you want, you can develop or sketch a value chain for pharmaceutical industry in Sri Lanka, supermarkets in Sri Lanka, right? Tea industry in Sri Lanka, tea sector, or even hospitals, right? Hospitals, private hospitals. Let's say private hospitals, you can go, right? Value chain. Okay. So this is important. So normally, if I further to explain this, so these now our focus is on this, right? Our focus. This is, let's say this is our company focus. Then these are called backward or we call upstream, right? So these guys are downstream. These guys are downstream in a supply chain, right? So if I were to further give some additional knowledge on this, um, let's say this firm, they want to acquire this distributor, right? They want to acquire this distributor. Now they will become one holding company, right? But two firms, but under one holding company. So this is called now firm. Firm, they if they try to do the distributor business as well, right? So earlier it was only a manufacturing, now you do distribution as well. So this type of integration, so we call integration, this is called forward integration, right? Forward integration. Because you go further downstream and you acquire certain, you try to get into some business that others do, right? Similarly, if you want to go backward, so let's say you want to bring your own goods, right? You acquire this supplier or you try to do their business. You don't use the supplier. Let's say you are going to acquire. So this is called backward integration, right? So in this supply chain, we can play. We play in a different way, right? Sometimes some companies they even uh, um, go for forward integration or backward integration. One example, if you take this Sunshine Pharmaceuticals, right? Sunshine Pharmaceutical, they import drugs to Sri Lanka. I mean, drugs in the sense medical, right? Pharma. And they own HealthGuard as well. So they are the owners of HealthGuard. So Sunshine Pharmaceutical not only bring they import drugs, but they have distributors and they have retail as well. They do retail, right? So end to end. So import, uh, distribute, retail. So it's entire supply chain owns by them, right? They have their own retail pharmacies. They have their own import business, right? Then they have their distribution as well. So it's both backward and forward integration. Okay. So this is again we call supply chain strategies, right? Depending on what you want to do, right? So we call supply chain strategy. Okay. These things can be seen. All right. Do you have any questions for me to clarify? Right. So we move to the last. Okay. So from this diagram, right? So we said this diagram, we have these are functions or activities, right? So these are functions. So inbound logistics, that activities under, let's say, procurement and inventory. Operations is under production, operations or production. Outbound maybe it's gain. Let's say again, it can be some other function, activity under function, right? When you have marketing and sales, it's an activity, it's under marketing department, right? So there can be different functions, right? HR, it's a function. IT, it's a function. Procurement, it's a function, no division, no whatever, division, no function, right? In a company, you have different functions, right? So functions can be, um, let's say HR, it's a function, it's a division, right? Yeah, it's a functional division for this. Finance, accounting and finance, right? Division. Sales and marketing, division. This is a function governed by a division, right? So there can be many production, maintenance. If you take any company, you can find several of this type functional divisions, right? But so traditional management, we look at most of the firms in a functional view. So these are functions, right? Functional view. But instead of looking at function, of course, the function will be there, right? We can look at in terms of processes, right? We can look at processes. So in a company, we will have a vertical structure, right? Vertical structure where we have several functions. And again, we have horizontal structure where we have processes. So processes, they are not confined to a function. We can have process maybe going one function to the other, right? Processes go this way. Functional functions are this. Let's say from finance to marketing, right? So there can be a process um, maybe done by both, right? Even though they are two separate functional or the divisions, right? But there can be processes crossing both, right? Or done part of the process done by finance, part of it done by um, marketing, right? So this is what we mean by this functional business functional view and business processes. Okay, processes are horizontal, functions are verticals, right? So traditional view of a firm is mainly functional view, right? But we can look at a company in terms of its process view as well, right? How the processes work, right? The processes can cross different functions, right? So that is what we study under this business process management. This directly comes from the value chain model, right? This is deducted from value chain, right? So value chain is broadly focuses on the firm, right? It broadly categorizes firm into different activities, and activities are further categorized into different sections, right? Based on the activity, right? But the processes, it further drills down. Process, business process, we call BPM, it further drills down these activities to different process, set of processes, right? So we can look at an organization using this process approach, right? We can look at organization looking at this process approach. We call business process management perspective, right? So this is what I'm going to discuss as the last. Okay. Business process management refers to the discipline of managing and improving an organization's business processes to enhance efficiency, productivity, customer satisfaction, and overall performance. Right. So even the value chain approach is the same, right? So we divide this into number of sections, and we try to identify primary values and secondary value. Ultimately, what we want to see is what is the value that we are going to create to the customer, end user, right? So this is again the same. We try to understand the little bit lower level than this, right? And we drill down to the processes and see the efficiency and productivity, right, of each process. How many days a process will take, how many hours a process will take. Is this process is really needed, right? Can we eliminate that process, right? So when we eliminate the process, that means we are reducing the time, right? And we can approach the customer faster, right? And doing that, can we improve the overall performance of the organization? Okay, so BPM involves systematic design, execution, monitoring, and optimization of processes to achieve operational excellence and drive business success. So what all about this BPM is we try to map all the processes, the existing processes, and see that processes are optimal. If not, we try to add or delete certain processes from the existing process map, and then try to improve the efficiency, right? So this is what we mean by BPM, right? So there is this life cycle, business process life cycle, how we do this business process management roughly, right? So the first thing is we try to identify the processes. What are the processes in an organization? Let's say if it is a procurement, what is the procurement process, right? How we do the procurement, right? Then maybe first process maybe to call for quotations, then evaluate the quotations, right? Using whatever criteria, and then raise the purchase order. So likewise, there are processes under the procurement process, right? Different activities that we do under different procurement process, right? So here we first thing is to identify the processes, and we call that then we discover the process. We check we do after the identification. We list down what are the processes, right? So we can list down the processes, and then we develop this as is process model, right? How the processes are interlinked, right? Which comes first, which comes second, which comes after that, like this. Then we go for the process analysis. What do you mean by process analysis? We can do quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, right? Under quantitative analysis, we can check how many the time that it takes to complete one process, right? And in qualitative analysis, we can check the quality of that process. Okay. Then once we do this quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis, if we think we had to change the existing processes, one or two or more, then we come up with process redesign, right? We design the process, we redesign the process, right? Let's say, for example, we check the existing procurement process, and we identify certain processes are missing in line with the internal controls, right? So certain processes, even though they are not necessary in terms of um, the functionality or the final outcome, but for certain internal controls perspective, you need certain the processes in place. So you have to introduce them, right? So that is called process redesign. Or if you delete certain processes, if you think that this process is redundant or we don't need that, the process is not going to add value, any value to the business, then we can remove that process, right? So once either adding processes or removing processes, we come up with new process. We call process redesign. And then we go for the process implementation, new whatever the agreed process we are going to implement. So then we'll have improved procurement process, right? So this process implementation can be the manual, right? So if you have a manual system, it can be done by manual, or you can automate, you can digitalize, right? So if it is manual, you can digitalize the process. We call automation, right? So we call business process automation, or you can go for the further level, robotic process automation. Instead of people doing it, we can get chatbots and robots doing it, right? So we call robotic process automation, right? So all this comes under process implementation. Then finally, process monitoring and control, right? So check whether the expected levels are met, right? So this is the idea of business process life cycle. So I will show you how we map certain processes. There is this convention we call BPMN 2.0, Business Process Management Notation 2.0. So if you want to draw any process model, you have to follow this convention, or there are some other conventions as well. So that will give you a standardization, because when I draw and you draw a process, if we use our own symbol, no one will understand it, right? So that's why they have their own convention. So if it is an activity, they use this rectangle shape. Start of the process, end of the process is denoted by these circles. Gateway is if there's a condition, right? So for example, if you with the if condition, right? Then that denotes by gateway, and the process flow is given by the arrow. So I will show you one diagram, right? So I'm going to show you how to draw this order to cash process. Okay. So let me read what it says. An order to cash process is triggered by receipt of purchase order from a customer. So this is procurement process, right? So let's assume a purchase order is going to receive from a customer. Upon the receipt, the purchase order has to be checked against the stock to determine if the requested items are available. So when we get the purchase order, we have to check whether enough stocks are available to process it. Depending on the stock level, stock availability, the purchase order may be confirmed or rejected. So if the stock level is adequate, then we confirm the purchase order. Otherwise, we have to turn down the purchase order. If the purchase order is confirmed and invoice is emitted, so we raise an invoice and the goods requested are shipped. The process complete by achieving the order, right? So this is very simple part of the procurement process that I'm going to show how we do using this BPMN 2.0, right? So you can see we start the process by purchase order receipt. So when we receive the purchase order, we start this process, right? Then first thing that we do is check the stock availability, right? So this is an activity that checks the stock availability. Then we have this condition, right? So if the stocks are not available, the next activity is we reject the order and then we stop whatever the process is stopped from there. If the stocks are available, then the next activity is we confirm the order and then we send the invoice and we send the goods and then we register, we note down whatever the order achieved, right? So this particular customer ID, we have done this order, then order fulfilled, right? So this is very simple process model that has done for order to cash process, right? So if I take one order, I can simulate it and show you, right? This is what will happen, right? This is the order one, it comes here and it's you check the stock availability and then if the stocks are available, you will confirm the order and emit invoice, right? Then let's say order two comes, check the stock availability, and if the items are not in the stocks, then we reject the order, right? We can have third order, right? So likewise, right? Okay. So this is what we mean by business process model, roughly, right? So I'm going to be giving you an introduction. So you don't need to know how to draw it, right? You don't need to know these notations. But if you're given a diagram, you should know what's happening here, right? You should know what's going on. You don't need to know how to draw this, right? What it means, you don't need to know because you are not going to do this process modeling. But if given the process model for whatever the it can be procurement, it can be sales, it can be whatever, right? Then you should have some idea what's going on. Okay, so this is what we mean by um, so this is as is, right? This is as is model. This is the current practice of this particular firm, right? Let's say if I want to do a redesign, I can suggest uh, you don't ship, right? So I can suggest here you have to have additional process where you need to receive the cash and then only you will send whatever the ship. Receive cash, right? You need to receive cash. After receive cash only you ship the good, right? So even you can now this becomes a redesign, right? So you change the existing. Okay. So if you want, you can improve it, right? So any questions that you may have? Any questions? Okay. No. Okay. Okay. Right. So this is what my plan for the day. So if you have any questions, right, you can send it through the institute. If you have any unclear areas or anything, they will send it to me. I think I have covered most of the tricky parts that are there. Where I thought it might be a little bit difficult or challenging for you to understand. Um, so other parts are not that difficult. I hope this is okay. Gasta, we are okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I think if you get any questions from the students, please pass it to me. Apart from that, I think we have released mock paper as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think we are done for the day.
Okay. Thank you very much for your contribution, Doctor. Dear students, thank you very much for your participation as well. So we look forward, this will be helpful for you to face the exams and get through the exam successfully. So wish you all the very best. Please keep in touch with our YouTube channel, CS Sri Lanka Online Academy. All the supporting documents and the materials, not only for this session, for also other subjects as well, we have done and uploaded to the our YouTube channel. So you have to keep in touch with us in the future also for the success like supportive sessions like this. Thank you very much again, Dr. Mahakalanda and the students.
Thank you. Bye.